Greetings, adventurers. This is Lauren, your guild advisor, and DanMachi Season 4 has just started back up with its second half with a pretty good start with episode 12. Very excited to see what's coming, like with the rest of the Amphis Bina fight, and the stuff going on with Belle and Ryu and all that. Just recently, I released my latest cuts and changes video for episode 12, so if you haven't checked that out and you want to learn about the differences between the anime and light novel, definitely check out that whole video series where I point all that stuff out for like every single episode in season 4, and of course the ones in the future as well. But for this video, I just wanted to kind of react and give my impressions on the new opening and ending animations for the second half of season 4. I'm not going to talk about my impressions of the episode in this video. I will probably try to group up all the episodes involving the Amphis Bina fight, and then I will give my impressions when that is concluded. At least that's the plan, so I get to talk a lot more about the opening and ending. I'm going to be talking about the opening a lot, but we're going to get this opening started up. Alright, so what's going to happen is that we're going to watch this all the way through one time, and then I'll go back and talk about some specific parts. So, go ahead and get started. Now, of course, all this imagery right here is the Estrella Familia grave. Now we have a kind of a shot panning throughout the entire cast. And this song is sung by Saori, the voice actress for Ryu, so automatic points there. And I also love, like, piano in any song. Now, I like these visuals here, kind of like showing some grotesque images of Estrella Familia, and of course Ryu remembering that. Very sad. Now this, I'll talk more about this a bit later. Like, this part is animated very well, but this also doesn't make any sense. This part doesn't make any sense when you consider what's happening in the second half of season 4. But again, I'll talk about that more later. But I love this song. Welp is going to have a very important part later on. You already saw a bit of his kind of pep talk going through the cast. And there's Elise, the old leader of Estrella Familia, and the rest of the Familia. I do love this part. I actually, the first time I watched this, I kind of like legitimately got teary-eyed when I saw the image of Ryu and then Belle picking her back up with that extended hand. But yeah, we're gonna... Sorry, sorry, Hayami-san, I'm gonna have to turn down the audio a bit because it's gonna be probably annoying if I'm like going through bits of this opening and different parts of the song is going to be continuously playing. So, like I said, like, here's the Estrella Familia grave, and I really like the Estrella Familia imagery in this opening, and I really love this song. But in terms of the like visuals themselves, I won't say that like I'm disappointed, but I wish there was a bit more like dynamic shots. Because it almost feels like, I don't know how to say this, like the opening is not complete, I guess? Like, obviously there are parts that I like all the imagery of Ryu, because this is going to be a lot about her and her past. As you can see her here, she used to have long blonde hair, like the modern, not modern, but present day Ryu. Her hair is obviously short and also has like a green kind of tint to it that she did to kind of disguise herself. But here, it's a more pure blonde. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. But yeah, there's the imagery of the Juggernaut, obviously. Her remembering the tragedy that befell her Familia. And this is a really grotesque shot of, damn. Yeah. Not much to say there. Like, that's gruesome. But like some of these shots here, like I wish there was more going on. It's kind of just like a plain background with muted out kind of filter on Ryu here. But I do like the tear there. That sounds weird. I love her tears. Not like that. I mean the symbolism behind it. Now this shot I was talking about earlier. This shot, like of the Juggernaut and Bell, like it looks really cool, and some of the animation is really good, and some of these visuals that we see, like this right here, this moment, I like the Juggernaut and Bell running towards each other and exchanging like these quick swings. Like this is like I talked about the ending of the first half of season 4 and how I wish the Juggernaut fight just gave us a bit more in terms of like animation, so we could see the sense of speed between Bell and Juggernaut, like their clashes. And you don't see too much of that in the anime itself, but it talks about that a lot in the light novel. How like they're almost like blurs exchanging blows, and we see that here in this animation for the second half of season 4. The only weird thing about that is that, remember, this is the second half of season 4. We left off with Bell and Ryu on floor 37 in the White Palace area, and then the rest of the party is still in the Water Capital fighting against the Amphisbaena. But the imagery in this sequence, as good as it looks, is Bell fighting Juggernaut by himself in the Water Capital area. In this entire opening, I don't believe there's any imagery of floor 37 like with Bell and Ryu. It's just this is Bell versus Juggernaut in the Water Capital area, which is not where Bell is currently at. It is kind of weird that like there's almost no like Bell or Ryu scenes involving them being on floor 37, which is probably my biggest complaint about the entire opening. There's almost like a part of me that's hoping that some of these are like placeholders and hoping that there'll be a more updated visuals, like a version 2 of this OP later on, maybe when we get more into the season. But I don't know, I do like the shot a lot too, like going through all the characters, and you see these 3 waitresses. If you don't know about them or want to learn more about them, check out one of the more recent videos I did about their past. It is very interesting. Like, they're not just waitresses, not just Ryu's co-workers at the tavern. There's a bit of a story to them as well, so definitely check that out. You see them like in action here. Chloe's knife, Anya's spear, Renoa's fist, because that's what she fights with, her fist. But like, yeah, but there's not much going on. Like a lot of these shots are like pans or like plain background, and there's like different styles of directing opening animations, of course, and perhaps they didn't have as much time to work on the opening animation, so they're just trying to get one that looks pretty good, but like not putting everything into it, because what's more important than like the opening visuals, of course, is the actual anime itself. So I'm hoping that because there's not like as many dynamic shots in this opening animation, that a lot of that attention is actually directed towards the anime itself, like the final fights being the big thing. But I do want to bring up I want to compare it to the opening for the first half of season 4, which I'll pull up here. And I really like this. Like, this opening for season 4's first half is probably my favorite opening overall. But I think music-wise, I like the song from the second opening for season 4 more than what we just saw. Big part of it's because like the piano, and of course, Sari Hayami, Ryu's voice actress, singing it. But I really like the direction of this opening, because it kind of just feels like it's kind of just like showcasing like a story. Like, this is their journey onto the floor, and like we're going through like all the characters in this shot. I talked about this opening already before, the first time we reacted to it. But I think this opening is really well done. Like, it goes through pretty much all the characters, and also teases like of what's to come in the future. Like, there's Ryu there, Cassandra's prophecy, and then this red imagery is obviously related to Ryu. and the prophecy and these red eyes are Juggernaut. And you know how I talked about in the opening for the second half of season 4, like there's no allusion to floor 37 at all, which is really strange to me. Like, even though most of these visuals are related to the first half the first half of the first half of season 4, that's weird to say, like the first 5 or 6 episodes, because it's mostly Moss Huge stuff, we do have references to Juggernaut and Ryu in this opening, whereas there's like no 437 stuff at all in the current opening and that we just got. But we do have Estrella Familia imagery, which I do enjoy. And then we will go to my favorite opening visual-wise is DanMachi's second season opening, even though I did not really like how the adaptation went overall. This opening probably has the best visuals in all the openings. Like, it's crazy. And before we get into this, this opening was storyboarded and directed by Tetsuro Tanaka, who works, like, I guess in the CG department at JC staff. And he's also worked on the opening for Index Season 3 and the second opening for that. And you can really tell, like, you can kind of see his style because there's, like, a lot of cool camera, like, panning shots with stuff going on in the background. Like I love this shot. This is the Hestia Familia home. Like, this entire opening, like, there's just so much, like, dynamic movement going on. There's not really any, like, still images, and even when, like, there is still images, there's still, like, some sense of movement happening. Like, it's like a constant camera pan, and then we got that cool transition, and we go through, like, all the different characters in DanMachi. Like, oh yes, and this right here, like, this visual is amazing because when you compare it to the new opening we just got, like, Haruhime has a central arc in season 2 of the anime, and then of course we're going through Ryu's central arc right now. And if you think back to the visuals in the season 4 part 2's opening, it's kind of Ryu on this static background of red, her in muted colors, and then here Haruhime, all these chains around her, the camera zooming into her, and then she looks at the camera with like a mysterious gaze, like, but you can tell it's sad. Like, I love that shot. Like, this entire opening is really well done, and it's more of a kind of a style that I am a fan of. Like, all these panning shots with movement. Oh, and I love this weekend's too. Like, zoom out from where Haruhime is, pan, and then zoom into Belle. I love it. And then this shot too. This shot is like the fight against Ishtar Familia when they capture Belle in the dungeon. And they slip in each single character here as the camera's panning the entire time. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of the song in this opening, and these cool, like, dynamic background shots with the characters in them. It's straight up my favorite opening, visual-wise. But yeah, I don't want to be too nitpicky, but the visual direction of Season 2's opening is more my style and what I wish you kind of saw here. But again, I don't dislike the Estrella Familia imagery here. I just prefer like the more dynamic shots of Season 2's opening. And of course, again, like, this sequence is really well done. Like, it's really well animated. I wish we had more of this kind of style of animation in the actual fight between Belle and Juggernaut, but we still have another fight to go. A rematch, if you will, later on in the season. So there's that. But again, no floor 37 imagery, which is really strange to me. Really, really strange. But yeah, I'm not going to be as nitpicky with the ending, which we'll get now. And again, Tanaka-san, who did the storyboarding and direction for Season 2's opening. Also worked on the CG that you saw in episode 12 of Season 4 that just premiered. So a lot of his attention is probably like on the actual anime itself, which is good because he's a really talented individual and I like his style. So that's good, but I kind of wish we saw some of it here in the opening, but this is the ED right now. So I think I talked too much about Tanaka-san during the ED, so I just started the back overs to focus more on the ED itself. I like the peaceful song used here. And I'm not too picky on EDs, because I feel like they're supposed to be more like a palate cleanser to what just happened on screen, like a time to kind of relax, I guess. And I love the focus on just Bell and Ryu, because they are on a journey together right now on floor 37. And so I like that the decision here was to focus on those two, and of course seeing more Estrella familiar imagery. See Estrella, her brown hair there. And we got character designs for all the Estrella familia members now. Before it was just like the prominent ones, but now we got all of them. I like the shot as well because you're like in some kind of like labyrinth imagery, which is obviously the dungeon, and they're back to back. Like it's just them two right now. It's interesting how Bell's looking up and Ryu's looking down. I have I have no comment on this. No comment on this. Interesting imagery. I'll say. Now this part, I really like this shot of outside Arario, and you can kind of like headcanon what's going on here. Like why is Bell like walking out from it, and why is Ryu walking back to it? You can think a lot of things there. What I like to think is that you have a composite right here. What I like to think here is like maybe Ryu is finally visiting her goddess Estrella, because her goddess Estrella is still out there somewhere. She just was asked to leave the city by Ryu because Ryu didn't want her goddess to be around when she was getting her revenge on Evilus. So Estrella is outside of Arario somewhere, and I like to think that in this ED, Ryu is coming back from a trip in seeing her goddess, and Bell is out here to like greet Ryu back into the city. I think that's a nice peaceful thing to think about, because they need some peace. They currently need some peace in their minds with what's happening between the two of them on floor 37, because as the current episode is, they're not having a fun time right now. And it did kind of another cliffhanger for those two. Yeah, not much to comment on the ED itself here. Like, again, I'm not as picky on the EDs. I think they're more relaxing. And I think they went the correct decision or direction here. I just like seeing the shots and designs of the Estrella Familia members. It's sad seeing them because we know what happens to them. But I am excited to see them in the anime, like see them actually animated. And I'm wondering if they're gonna expand upon the flashbacks that you are going to see throughout the season involving the Familia. And yeah, that's my reaction and impressions on the opening and ending. Again, first episode, the second half, pretty good. Really excited for the rest of the fight against the Amphispina. And one last thing, we finally got a prototype sculpt of the Ryu figure that was previously announced. Like, we just previously heard that she was getting a figure and kind of like had a silhouette of it. But now we actually have a prototype of what the 3D sculpt is going to look like. Now, those of you that are not familiar with like anime figures and don't have them, this is a 1/7 scale figure. And because this is a prototype sculpt, they're just showing off what the figure is going to look like from a design standpoint. The final project will be painted, so don't worry about that. You don't have to paint it yourself. And I believe they said pre-orders will go up in spring 2023, so that could be like any time between March and June, basically. But when pre-orders go live, you will probably see the finished product painted and everything. But I really like the design. There is a sense of dynamic movement. I love that word, right, guys? Dynamic, because I kept talking about it in the openings. But I love it. I'm definitely gonna get this, no matter the price. I don't really have a good guess as to how much this will cost, because Recently, figure prices have been going up. A lot of the times, if a figure is like from a series that is not quite popular, I guess, then the figure ends up being more expensive because I guess they like make less of it. But if you like mass produce something, it gets cheaper to make. So I don't know how popular DanMachi merchandise is in Japan, but this could even be like $150. Like I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And I'm talking US dollars, of course. But I have quite a few figures, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was like around the 150 range, or maybe less, or even higher. Like who knows? That's just a guess on my end, just from having other figures as well, and similar scale figures. But yeah, guys, that's my impressions on the new opening and ending for DanMachi Season 4, its second half. I like the opening overall. Like, I love the music. It's my favorite song out of any opening. I just wish the visuals were a bit more dynamic. And I still don't understand that shot between Bell and Juggernaut, and why it's, like, taking place in the water capital and there not being any 437 imagery. That's the only real complaint I have. And the ED, just good all around. Like the imagery between Bella and Ryu, and seeing all the designs for Estrella Familia is awesome as well. But yeah, guys, that'll be it for this video. Remember, I will be giving my impressions on episode 1 and however episodes it takes to adapt the rest of the Amphis Bina fights. I just want to like group all that together so I can talk about the fight as a whole and how they handled it versus the light novel. And I do want to say, a lot of those sequences with Aisha were really well done, and you can tell that Tanaka-san was involved because, again, I love it when the camera's kind of like following the character and it's moving with the action. Really cool. Anyway, of course, look forward to the future cuts and changes videos that I will be releasing weekly to pair with each episode of Season 4 that continues to come out. And as always, remember to give this video a like, sub to the channel for more DanMachi content, follow me on my socials, and this is Lorne, your guild advisor, signing out.